Editor-in-Chief.
Thank you, Minda. That's a really fantastic takeoff that we have today. I'm joined by Lorenz Brunner. He is Department Manager, Research and Innovation at the Research and Innovation team at IWC Schaffhausen. And we have Nicolas Lanoux. He's the Senior Product Manager at IWC. So we have the two perfect persons to talk to. First, the guy who comes up with the collection, and then the guy who does the innovation, which is absolutely amazing. I'm super thrilled. I was lucky enough to have both in previous presentations when we still had physical presentations at SIHH and other venues. So I'm very excited to have a slightly different presentation with the novelties from this year, which is obviously the pilot range and the big news, the big headliner being the big pilot in 43 millimeters. Just for the audience, Lorenz, Nikolai, can you briefly tell us, to the audience, what your main role is at IWC?
Yes, good morning, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the very kind introduction. So my name is Lorenz. I'm working with IWC for nearly 10 years now. I'm heading a small department called Research and Innovation, which is focused on long-term research, I would say basic research in terms of a company that produces products. So I'm responsible for projects that are not yet planned for actual collections. So it's basic research, it's new materials, new functions, new processing methods, very broad range of projects actually.
That sounds really fascinating. What are you wearing today now that I have you on camera? Because I see that we're switching cameras.
Yeah, I'm sort of a little bit biased. I'm wearing a chronograph, a Porsche designed titanium chronograph, because I'm a material scientist. So titanium is of course a material that I like a lot. And actually this watch has a celebration this year. It's 40 years since it was produced in 1981.
Brilliant. And Nicola, about yourself?
Great, thanks. Hi, everybody. I'm Nicola. I'm product manager, as Roger already introduced me. I'm responsible for the pilot's watch developments, and that's why it's a especially great honor for me today to really present to all of you the novelties we have. Our responsibility is really to basically lead the development process from the beginning, from the research and development to the final watch, and also to the introduction of the final products that we're going to have a look at today. And yeah, I'm very happy that so many of you could join. I'm looking forward to this little product session.
And I think I spot an onion crown on your wrist. Am I correct? What are you wearing?
That's totally right. I'm wearing a big pilot today. Maybe you can switch already for the first time to the overhead camera that we have here in our studio. We're joining you guys live from Schaffhausen, and my piece is the big pilot. It's a bit of an older version, special edition we did for the London boutique.
And it appears to have a new strap, which I'm sure we're going to be talking about later. I don't have a fancy overhead camera, so I have a GST Aqua Timer with me today. That was the one closest to me. But back to pilot watches. IWC has been producing pilot watches since 1936. It all began with the 436, the reference, the automatic pilot, which had the bezel marker, and then obviously the one that inspired everything that we're most looking today, the BOR from the 40s, which was the Ref 431 with the caliber 52, if I'm not mistaken. But more recently, and especially since the 90s, IWC has been supporting the aviation industry. More recently, and that started in 2007, we have seen the Top Gun watches literally take off. And once the whole cinema thing is going back, we might even get a little bit more of that, but we'll see. And since 2019, we have the Blue Angels. We have a vast collection of beautiful pieces, pilot watches all over in different styles. We have the classic segment, we have Top Gun, we have Spitfire, we have Le Petit Prince and Antoine de Saint-Exupéry. But today, we're really going to look at today's classics of tomorrow, which is probably starting with the Big Pilot 43, which is on the cover of this month's WatchTime issue, which is perfect timing. So without further ado, Nicola, I think the cockpit is yours.
Thank you so much, Roger. You said it already, the Big Pilot is really one of our very biggest icons we have at IWC, especially also because of its design, because of its recognizability. And obviously, internally, we all love it. And many people wear it as well as a daily wearer. But we saw when we also talked to our clients, to the markets, that there is a bit of limitation due to its size of 46 millimeters. And that's why we basically addressed this challenge already now a couple of years ago. And we asked ourselves the questions, can we really create a Big Pilot that totally feels like a Big Pilot, that wears like a Big Pilot, that also gives you this like oversized feeling on the wrist, but has a bit better wearability and better ergonomics. And I'm very happy today to present you the result of this development. And I'm also extremely proud of the development team that really managed to create this new version of the Big Pilot 43. And 43, obviously, because it now has a diameter of 43 millimeters. You see it on the screen now. Here is the first model we introduced with the very classic design, black dial. We have a stainless steel case and a beautiful brown calfskin strap with the very iconic rivets as well, and obviously the conical crown here. So it totally looks like the Big Pilot. It already feels like a Big Pilot on the wrist. The only slight difference that there is to the 46 millimeter model is really the dial design. Here we decided to go back basically to the original design of the original BU, as Roger already mentioned. So we cleaned up everything from the dial, really to bring it back to this purely functional look where you can perfectly read the time. So we took away the date indication and also the power reserve, creating this very, very nice and clean look here.
Was that a difficult discussion internally about the having or not having a date? Because the Big Pilot in 46 happens to have a date. So was that like a very easy discussion with this one has one, this one doesn't need one, or was it the fight of the century?
The date discussion is always extremely like intense. There is these people who say, okay, we definitely need a date. There is a lot of the time the collectors, the purists, and so that then say, okay, we don't want to have a date. The date basically ruins this clean design. And that's why for this version, we really said, okay, let's go back to the original. Let's really take everything off to create also a differentiating look to the 46. And this already gives you a bit a hint to the strategy that we're going with this new Big Pilot 43. So it's not at all a replacement. It is really an addition in the collection, and we're gonna have now, in addition to the 46 millimeter, also these 43 millimeter models. And we will also introduce a blue dial version that you see here. Beautiful blue dial with the sunray finish that you know from other Pilot's pieces as well. Gives you an amazing reflection also depending on the light. And then also when you turn around this piece, a big highlight also of the Big Pilot 43 is the new open case back. So on this watch, we decided to show the movement with a transparent case back. Here we're talking about the caliber 82, full in-house caliber of IWC with all the IWC technology. That means Peloton automatic winding, one of the most efficient winding systems in the watch industry. We have even the ceramic parts in the movement. You see them here in black. to really reduce the friction also and increase the power flow. And we now have a beautiful sapphire caseback where you can really see this movement. And another very cool feature also is the new 10-bar water resistance. So while re-engineering obviously the case from this new big pilot, we were able to increase the water resistance, really making it the perfect sports watch that you can wear in every condition. And to really underline also this fact that it is this perfect sport watch, we are also introducing our new ease exchange system. An ease exchange system is a quick exchange system for the bracelets that you see here with this little lever on the inside of the strap. You can just press on it and take away the strap. And now to really make it the perfect sports watch, we're going to offer a lot of different bracelet materials. Here, one example of the rubber bracelet. Very beautiful, perfectly matching rubber bracelet as well when you want to wear it at the beach and go into the water. And the last amazing highlight also on the Big Pilot 43 is that with the new size, the better ergonomics, and so we are introducing for the very first time a steel bracelet. So you have now on the Big Pilot our very characteristic 5-link pilot bracelet with the beautiful satin finished and polished links here that comes on the version of the blue dial, but can also be exchanged with the ease exchange system, for example, to the black dial version if you like so. Great. Any questions, comments that you have right now already on our new highlight, the Big Pilot 43?
There are quite a few questions in the chat. I think they have been answered. Let's see. Roger, do you see any of them?
Yeah, I can easily jump in. I mean, one of the questions that we get quite often is, when do you use a solid case back? When do you use an open case back? And while I leave you to the answer of that, I was fortunate enough to already have played a little bit with the quick change strap system. And I think one of the advantages that I've seen is that it really works like a hook. So quite often with those quick change systems, there is quite a bit of contact between the strap and the watch. And by having a solution like that, you minimize contact between strap and watch, which I think is ingenious. Obviously, I don't know how the whole system is going to be performing over 200 years and with changes every day, but I was really impressed by how easy and contactless the whole thing worked. Back to you, Nicola.
I have a few questions. Is the steel bracelet interchangeable with the leather straps?
Yes, exactly. I didn't show it on the piece, but I can demonstrate this as well. So you can very easily just push the inside here of the strap. Show this to you. Wow. And then you see we're talking, and that's the ingenious thing about this new quick exchange system that we call ease exchange, that we're using standard spring bars here with this quick exchange system. So you can really put as well all the leather straps now on this version, the rubber straps that we have, and you can even, if you don't like the versions we have, also put other straps, because this is a standard strap attachment here of 21 millimeter. So you really have the full liberty of combining it with everything you want, and we have this very easy and very secure as well system for the bracelet that you can change really from leather to steel to rubber. And that was the first question, coming back to the open case bag that Roger asked me as well. So there was also a very long discussion between closed case bags and open case bags, especially also on the big pilots, as whenever we have a closed case bag, we usually have also the soft iron inner case. But we know also from discussions with our customers, with a lot of collectors as well, that because we have so special movement that are highly engineered, and so they really requested as well to see it. And that's why now we are introducing this new version of the Big Pilot 43 with an open case back to really also give the client opportunity to see this. And we'll always have basically versions that have closed case back. And when you have the closed case back, then you also have the soft iron inner case.
Thank you.
One question you may have answered, are the pin buckles removable or permanent?
No, that's another ingenious thing about the quick exchange system. You don't even have to buy other like pin buckles or folding clasp, but you can also basically quick exchange them. I can just demonstrate it on this one. You see, you can really take everything off the bracelet and the strap and put it on the other one so that you don't need any additional clasps when you're buying a new bracelet. And this works for the folding clasp as well as for the pin buckle. I have a pin buckle version here. You can just clip off the pin and then you can also exchange the buckle here.
Will these watches work on ladies' wrists?
I could jump in there. When the Big Pilot was launched in 2002, the 46 millimeter version, it immediately became one of the big headliners down in Geneva, but also because the former head of advertising was wearing it during the show. And I can tell you it looked amazing. Back to you, Nicola.
That's totally what I wanted to say. I mean, we already have women that are wearing the Big Pilot 46 as kind of a statement piece. And here, obviously, now with this 43 millimeter size, we even, I would say opening up to, a broader audience. And our female customer are definitely part of this audience as well.
What is the power reserve of the new model?
So the power reserve of the caliber 82 that we have in this Big Pilot 43 is 60 hours.
Okay.
And I think another one, the spring bars, are they fixed or can they be removed?
The spring bars can be removed. And the only thing is that you need to change when you're switching basically to our easy exchange system is that you have to use a bit slighter spring bars. But we will have in the future also called upgrade kits to our easy exchange system, where you can then buy basically the new easy exchange system bracelet, the clasp, and also the fitting spring bars.
So in short, and that's something that I was always first to point out, the moment the brand introduced a proprietary quick change system, it basically meant that you were hooked on that brand until this brand stopped supplying straps for that model. And really congratulations to you and the whole team for coming up with a quick change system that doesn't really mean that, but leaves all the flexibility and the traditional way of still being able to put a NATO strap on one of these watches or something else.
True. Yeah. No, that was one of the main goals when developing this new easy exchange system. And I mean, if you really like then this system, you can even combine it with other watches. So we have it now in 20 millimeters, in 21 millimeters. So you can also fit your other watches with this easy exchange system and wear it, for example, on the rubber strap or on the calf straps.
Then we have a question from Billy asking if the bracelet will fit an 8-inch wrist. That's approximately 20 centimeters, which is pretty much what I have. I didn't have any difficulties with the new models. I'm not sure if you're supplying retailers with different lengths of straps, because that happened to me with another brand where I went with the shortest and it didn't work. But from what I've seen, that shouldn't be an issue, should it?
Exactly. I don't think this is going to be an issue. We have a standard size of bracelets, but you can find then, if needed really, you can find links at any boutique or wholesaler. They will be available, and they can also fit it to you to the right size free of charge.
Perfect. Thank you.
I have one more question. Are the spring bars standard or are they thicker?
They're thicker.
They're
The string
thicker.
bars are a bit thicker than standard ones. Yeah.
Okay, it's time for the first trivia question, everybody. Trivia time. And I think I spoke incorrectly. You have to answer in the chat because you are all muted. So you're not all just going to be screaming the answer. So since we're coming live from Schaffhausen, the question is, name Schaffhausen's specialty cookie. Good luck. And then we'll continue. I'll let you know when we have a winner.
Oh, that's funny.
There's some funny things there.
I see the answers popping up already.
Oh my God. We broke the chat, but good. Back to Nicolas. I think we'll move on with the presentation of the novelties.
Exactly. I have a couple of more references to present you. The next one is the highlight in terms of watchmaking, a very beautiful haute horlogerie piece in an execution now of the Big Pilot. It's here, the brand new Big Pilot Perpetual Calendar. So we're talking about...
Paul got it.
So Paul, we already have a winner, Paul W. It's the Zungen.
Amazing.
Congratulations.
Paul.
Sorry.
Great. So maybe you'll get this perpetual calendar. I'm not sure. I have to check. But that's our new model here with this beautiful perpetual calendar that you know from IWC with the 4 counters indicating the moon phase. It's a perpetual moon phase as well. At 12 o'clock indicating the northern and southern hemisphere, as you see here. Then we have the different indications at 3, 6, and 9, and also the 4-digit year indication here between 7 and 8. And if you know a bit the perpetual calendars at IWC, they're based on a very special and unique model of that was developed by our master watchmaker Kurt Klaus back in the 80s, and it's the basically only watch perpetual calendar in the market that doesn't need any correctional pushers in the case. And this is especially important, obviously, when we're using this sports Big Pilot case that you see here. We don't have any correctional pusher because this perpetual calendar is really pre-synchronized, and you can set it via the date setting only via the conical crown. And on the case back of this beautiful piece, here we have our high power reserve movement caliber 52. It means 7 days of power reserve. So if you don't use it for 7 days and pick it up again, it will still work and you don't need to adjust anything. Here as well, we have the ceramic components here in black to reduce the wear and tear in the movement. And we also have Peloton automatic winding to really build up this 7 days power reserve. Great. Do you want to answer some questions now, or should I move on directly?
Well, let's see. Why the blue leather straps? The blue dials used to come with brown strap, but it is not the black, which used to come with black straps. Do you want to answer that?
Exactly. So you see, also on the Big Pilot, we're switching a bit. This is really to give it a bit more contemporary look and a bit more modern look. We're switching basically for blue straps on the blue dials as we had on the Big Pilot and on this new perpetual calendar.
Okay. Matthew's asking if there was an IWC annual calendar chronograph in the past.
No, as far as I know, there was never an annual calendar chronograph. We had an annual calendar on an automatic movement that came in different versions as well on the Big Pilot, but not combined with the chronograph.
And Jeff is asking to remind the diameter of the perpetual calendar.
The perpetual calendar comes in the diameter of 46 millimeter. So that's the big pilot size that we had up to now. And it's the 46 millimeter diameter.
Are you able to share the pricing? Everyone's asking how much it is.
Yeah, we had it on the previous slide. And
Okay.
it's
There, it's the $29.9.
Yeah. Amazing. Great. Then I'll move on because we still have some more and we don't want to miss the technical highlight, the engineering highlight that Lorenz is also going to present us. So I'm moving on to the chronograph, which is in terms of our core collection, the other big highlight next to the big pilot 43. It's a new chronograph pilot's watch here in the reduced diameter of 41 millimeters. So we have our very iconic 3-counter chronograph look with the day-date window here at 3. Comes also in this beautiful blue dial. And on the case back as well here, we come with all the upgrades that we've just seen on the big pilot. So you get an open sapphire case back showing this beautiful in-house caliber 69 with a column wheel mechanism here visible. We also have the 10-bar water resistance and the quick exchange system for the bracelet. And to really make full use of this, we obviously gonna present it as well on the bracelet and the increasingly popular new green dial that we introduced a couple of years ago on a limited version called the Racing Green is now coming as a more or less standard in our collection. The beautiful green, I hope you can see in the camera, with a sun ray finish, also changing its color depending on the reflection of the light. And also this one will be available with the steel bracelet. Great, so that's the offering on the 41 millimeter chronograph, how we're starting this new collection now for the launch, we just presented at Watches and Wonders. Cool, then I would move on to our Top Gun collection. So the pieces I showed you right now are from our classic pilots collection. They have the classical design codes also combined with a steel case, really giving this very nice timeless look. And when we talk about Top Gun, obviously we go more into material, into performance materials as well. And the novelties we're presenting this year are follow-up pieces on a very special introduction we did in 2019, the so-called MOJAVE Desert Editions. And this year we're presenting two new versions in this unique design code. It's a sand-colored subdued design code that we really played over the case. So it's a beautiful sand-colored ceramic case that you see here. Then we have the slightly darker dial with the print to still assure readability of this piece. And we have the matching bracelet, a rubber bracelet with a textile inlay. And in the same design code, we are also presenting an perpetual calendar. So we really combine this ultra sportive look of the MOJAVE Desert with an haute horlogerie complication, our iconic perpetual calendar that you see here with these 4 sub-counters, as we saw on the steel version, here now in this totally subdued look of the MOJAVE Desert design code. And when we turn them around, you see the case backs of these two watches. So as we discussed before, when we have an open case back, we can see the movement. And when we have a closed one here with the Top Gun logo, as they are part, obviously, of our Top Gun family. And we also have the soft iron inner case here on the big pilot.
And we have a question from Jeff. If the straps are reversed, no, they're not. The rubber part is on the inside, which makes it much more comfortable to wear, and the textile strap is on the outside.
Exactly. That's totally right. The textile strap is on the outside, basically for the design and the look of the piece. And then really for the comfort as well, we have this beautiful rubber base that makes up the strap. Yeah.
The first edition of the MOJAVE Desert sold out rather quickly, which is always unfortunate if you fall in love with something like that. Same with the Tribute to 3705. How fast does one need to be?
That's a very good question. And I mean, we had a huge demand and a huge success of the chronograph, and a lot of also like disappointed clients that they could not get one. And because we felt this is really like, yeah, it's the core competence of IWC, really the ceramic materials that we've introduced as very first zirconium oxide ceramic in the 80s as well. At that time on the Da Vinci, we developed it through all the years, and now coming with this very special colored ceramic, we felt, okay, we really want to have these also for, yeah, more than just the one shot in our collection. And that's why these pieces are not limited by numbers, but will have an annual production limitation. So we'll do 250 of the big pilot and only 150 per year of the perpetual calendar. And if you don't get the one from the first year, you'll have to wait basically and put yourself on the waiting list to hopefully then get one of the second year slot.
Thank you. Why isn't there the quick change system on the rubber strap for the MOJAVE?
Because the quick exchange system is a very new development, and we really went for these new pieces, the chronograph and the big pilot in 43, where we really now want to like introduce this, and the rollout is gonna like happen at a later stage. But the good thing is, as I mentioned about this system, you can always like, you know, upgrade then as soon as bracelets are available with the ease exchange system, you can upgrade your piece basically to this new ease exchange system.
Thank you. We are already getting some more technical questions regarding strength and scratch resistance of ceramic compared to steel, and I think we'll just keep that for 90 seconds until we go to the next part. But it's also, I mean, and again, this is occasionally the frustration with collectors not getting the watches that they want to have, but what people quite often forget is that you also need to first build production. And as people might not be aware of, I haven't seen another ceramic watch with a beige case, and that's rather new. So even for IWC, that means that first of all, you need to get feedback from the market, then you need to increase production, then you have additional models, et cetera, et cetera. So it is not necessarily what's been discussed in the chat right now. It's also quite often simply production related.
That's why we have, I'm just gonna finish this one and then hand over to Lorenz. That's why basically the main reason why we have this annual production limit is really because the production of these like performance material, how we call them, are extremely complex. There is a lot of like, quality steps they have to go through. It's a very complex production, and that's why we said we really have to limit the output, the yearly output of such pieces to really assure the highest quality. And I'm sure now that Lorenz, our material specialist, will be able to give you more insights. And that's why I would say I'm very happy to hand over to him, Lorenz, who's gonna take over.
Thank you.
Hi, Lorenz.
Hi, Roger.
Can you walk over, or are you staying there? It's just for me, for the
we can
logistics.
walk over, and we put on the video, I think, for the shock absorber.
Perfect. So we had one question in the meantime until we're ready, which is why the crown on the MOJAVE wasn't made out of ceramic, and I think that's fairly easy to answer because of its size. But I leave that to you.
Yeah, I mean, ceramic crowns are really very complicated to produce. The shape is not so easy, and when you start with a metal construction, be it a case or a crown or whatsoever, you cannot take the same, exactly same dimensions, same tolerances, same angles, say the same technical drawing. You need to adapt that, and for a crown, the compromise would just be too big. I mean, technically it would probably be possible, but the crown would not look the same, and that's not what we want for such an iconic watch.
Thank you. And now we have some in-flight entertainment, as I was told. So that watch came a bit as a surprise during Watches and Wonders, almost a bit like a grand finale. Tell us more about it, Lorenz.
Yeah, I mean, the new shock absorber XPL pilot's watch is certainly something very special, something that we at IWC did not do before. It's the first watch coming out of this new department, IWC Experimental, and it's a watch and a technology that is really groundbreaking, is pushing the limits. That's also let's say the basic aim of this experimental group is to produce watches or technologies that go to the boundaries what is physically possible, and that's what we did with this watch, with this shock absorbing system here.
And I'm still, it is so unexpected still, and I'm so glad that we're seeing it in a presentation right now. From what I have learned in doing the research is that the stem of the winding crown and the movement are actually not connected in order to increase the shock resistance. Tell us more.
Yes, I mean, I could probably start with the whole development. So we were 8 years ago actually asking ourselves, how can we produce a watch with the highest possible shock resistance for the movement? And we started with a white paper basically, and pulled together many different ideas on shock absorbing systems, just very general, very basic ideas. And at the end, I mean, it's a similar system like a crash zone in a car, but we don't want to have it crashed, of course. So it should be continuously be in service even after a crash. But there are several options. And then we had like a whole big matrix of ideas. And we choose the best ones, and we worked on them, we tested them. And this system that we present here was the best functioning system. It works with a kind of a cantilever spring. So I think you can see it in the watch. There are 8 arms around the movement that actually protect the movement from crashing into the case. So there is about 1 millimeter movement to either side of the watch. And with that, we can absorb very high shocks for the watch. And as you mentioned before already, the crown system needed to be adapted as well, because what would it help if your movement would allow to move, but you have a fixed stem? So either it would break your winding stem, or you would damage your movement inside. So there is a system here in the crown system that is decoupling the crown stem from the movement when the crown is fully insert, and when you move the crown out, then you get the coupling again. And this allows actually the movement to move this close to 1 millimeter to either side of the watch.
Something that I was extremely curious about when I read all the specs of the watch is, how did you test? I think their shock resistance is 30,000 G. Where and how do you test that? I mean, it certainly is not walking up to the roof of the manufacturer and letting it fall. There has to be some different procedure.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the testing was well, we needed a lot of effort, of course, because there is some sort of a standard test that, Roger, you might know in the watch industry, the 5,000 G hammer that everyone uses. And of course, this doesn't work for this watch. We used it as a basis, but we highly adapted this 5,000 G hammer with different methods. And then, of course, we needed a special lab as well, and special high-speed cameras, special laser measuring technologies. And we found very good partners at the Cavendish laboratory of the University of Cambridge in the UK. And they are very well equipped with high-speed cameras that can actually take up to 300,000 frames per second. And you can see the movement wobbling while you actually smash it, or while the watch is smashed. And we had also some assistance from laser technology that was able to actually measure the difference in acceleration between the case and the movement, and the difference between it. With that, you can, with a lot of mathematics behind it, you can calculate the actual G-force that you see in your movement. And we actually tested it in excess of 30,000 G. It can even hold up a little bit more than that.
Excellent. And I mean, it's a concept watch. That means the numbers are going to be low. I think it's 30 pieces spread over a period of 3 years, which means 10 pieces per year. And it's the same thing all over again. You first have to start production. You first have to prove that there is demand, that it can be produced, that it works. So proof of concept has to be there. And I think what's also interesting is that you're using Ceratanium for the case. And we have seen a similar development with that material when it was first introduced in the Aqua Timer in, I think, 2017, but you correct me if I'm wrong. No, and that too, we can now see that spread over more than one collection. So we now have multiple pilot watches using the material, which I would expect combines the best of two worlds, the color from ceramic and the robustness of titanium. But please, you came up with that.
At least, I mean, if you talk about combining, this watch actually combines two of my longest lasting projects I ever had at IWC. So the Ceratanium was more than a 5-year development. The shock absorber took even a little bit more than that. So this watch is some sort of combines the two projects that I was working with in the past 7 or 8 years. And absolutely correct. I mean, the Ceratanium case, that was in 2012 when I started at IWC, my first project. And it was a long road to go as well. We were looking for a new material that actually combines the advantages of titanium and ceramics that are both our DNA materials. And this is the result of it. Of course, it took a lot of research. The thing is, you have to find very good partners that collaborate with you. We use an alloy that you cannot buy from the market, so it's a very special titanium alloy as a basis for this material, and that's a very long development to get it to the purity that you want, to the quantity that you want, and to the properties that you actually want. And then when you have the titanium component, you do a heat treatment in a special furnace, which then leads to a conversion of the surface of the piece that gives you the same hardness as a ceramic. So of course, this oven process was a very high demand on research power. We did a lot of experiments to get the correct variables of the oven treatment, and finally it worked out quite well. And I think it's a very nice material for pilots' watches. It has this matte black, jet black look, And as I said, I mean, this watch is basically the combination of those two very long projects on my side.
And something that I was wondering, especially given the history of IWC with working both with titanium, IWC was one of the first watch manufacturers to work with titanium and the first to introduce a watch completely made out of titanium. Also with the ceramic versions of the both Pilot and the Perpetual calendar. I mean, there is history there, but are there currently any plans in having the material in different colors? Because that's when looking at the MOJAVE Desert edition, is this exclusively bound to be black, or are there plans to introduce different colors?
That's a good question. I mean, the ceratanium technology itself is a little bit limited by the composition of the basic alloy, and then you do not have choices to get it. I would say blue or red or yellow whatsoever. What you can do with the ceramics, because with the ceramics you actually mix colors during the powder phase of production, and that you cannot do with the classic metallic alloy. So when we talk about colors for ceratanium, you are limited in the corner of black and gray. There are some possibilities to get it lighter depending on the surface treatment, or to get it darker when you go to finer surfaces. But we will not see a red or a beige ceratanium. This is not possible.
Okay, and I think that's also for us, the journalists behind the magazine. You have been working 8 years on that material without having been able to commercialize it, to sell it. And that's, I think that quite often gets forgotten also by the end consumer, that there is so much work going on behind the stage that might not even be realized. I mean, I do remember a couple of watches that were produced with the name IWC that never saw the light of the day. What's currently going on in your department? I mean, innovation is something that's happening in the watchmaking department, where they come up with new complications, new construction, new ways of construction. But your department is quite different as to what we usually see in other brands. So how many projects are you currently involved in? And I'm not asking to reveal what you're working on, obviously not, but just what does the department look like? How many people, how many projects?
Yeah, in terms of people, we are not that big. It's just 2 persons. It's basically me and one colleague. And we have currently, I think, around 22 projects. So it's quite a list. And those are, I would say, grouped in 3 bigger parts, which is materials. That's more or less my part as a material scientist. We have a lot of very interesting material science projects in the pipeline. Then we have function projects, everything that has to do with I can give examples, moon phases, perpetual calendars, everything that is a function. And then we have basically a 3rd container with all the other projects that can be optimization projects, processing projects. And I think it's also important to mention that we have many projects with some sort of silent innovation. And I want to mention that the whole trend of the industry towards longer sales warranties, and currently IWC offers 8 years warranty, and these are projects that are in my group as well, that take care about durability of components that we do not really advertise, but are needed to give this 8-year warranty. And those projects are also part of my group.
And you need to be extremely patient in what you do, I would assume. I mean, it's
yeah, that's I mean, if you do a PhD, you get some sort of training for being patient, but yeah, I mean, in the industry, everything takes a little bit longer, but that's okay. I mean, I like it a lot. I like to do new things. I like to go to push limits, to do something new. And finally, I'm extremely happy to see products coming out. You mentioned the 2017 Aquatimer Digital Perpetual, and Yeah, I mean, every time I see this watch in the wild, and I actually saw one on the wrist of Jürgen Klopp, the manager of Liverpool, and that made me extremely happy and extremely proud. That's very nice and gives you the reward of doing 5 or 6 years research.
Understandable. And
Roger, I need to ask one more trivia question, and people are asking anyway. We're running just at the end today, but Domenico said that obviously IWC needs to be added to the list of manufacturers to visit, which I agree.
That was June last year, so that's not our fault. We would have been there.
So the final trivia question, I'm actually combining the last two, and you have to put them both. What is the nearest large airport to Schaffhausen? And what is the name of the river in front of the IWC manufacturer? So put both of those in the chat and you'll be our winner. The nearest airport, the nearest large airport, and the name of the river in front of the manufacturer.
Yeah, that was easy.
That was easy. Okay, Roberto, you won.
But we did get a majority of the questions that we got in advance was obviously related at what's coming next from IWC. And I hope that everyone understands that while we're currently focusing on what's just been released, it is almost impossible to already look ahead and reveal what might be next. So and that brings me back to the product. We have seen these watches already being shipped to retail. I've seen the Big Pilot 43 2 weeks ago in Zurich, which traditionally is closer to the manufacturer in Schaffhausen. So the novelties are being shipped as we speak. Some of them are more difficult to get, such as the MOJAVE Desert editions. Others, you just need to be patient, but that's where, thank you, Nicola, for stepping back in. What are the logistics in rolling out the novelties?
Yeah, so we have different launch date, as you mentioned. The Big Pilot 43 and the Chronograph 41 are hitting the markets now. So we started, delivering the first pieces. Same also for the Big Pilot Perpetual calendar. Then the Mojave Desert as well. Here we're basically, finishing the first pieces now, and they will come very soon in the next week. And then, obviously, as you mentioned, for the shock absorber, here we will need to wait a bit longer. We're still in the final testings and developments of production pieces, and we hope to deliver first pieces to the lucky clients by the end of this year.
Brilliant. Someone asked me what Big Pilot I had, and that's an easy question to answer. I wanted to go with the first generation because I was lucky enough to be partially involved with the launch of the watch by doing the movie that was accompanying that watch. But that was too early for me, so I went with the second generation that still had the slow beating movement, and that was around 2007-ish. So that's the one I have, but currently it's the Aqua Timer on my wrist. Anything else, Minda?
Yes, a final question. How can I reserve a visit to the IWC manufacturer?
Well, wait till we announce our reader trips to Switzerland. Sign up to one of our trips. No, obviously, you can go to the website from IWC. There is everything you need to know. Also, if you're just in the area, do not forget there is a museum that you can visit without having the tour of the manufacturer, because I would assume with the pandemic going on, getting an appointment for the manufacturer is something that you need to plan ahead quite some time. So go there as early as possible to have the manufacturer visit. And keep in mind that there is also a museum. Am I forgetting something?
Oh, they also offer, which is really cool, this studio. We have to say that this is the first time we've done an event from a studio, and it works really well. These overhead cameras showing them that's really well done. And
Thank you.
They can also do a virtual tour on the website IWC.com. So that's a really cool option.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you so much for coming to us live from Schaffhausen. I know that everybody enjoyed it. I don't think we have any final questions. This was an awesome presentation. Thank you so much. And thank you to all our collectors from joining across the country. Any final words, Roger?
Thank you everyone for your interest.
Nope, same here. It was absolutely amazing to actually have a presentation with the watches. We have briefly discussed that in the beginning. I mean, it doesn't get better in terms of getting to see watches without being able to actually getting to see watches. So this is as close as one can get to seeing these really amazing pieces. And I mean, you've pulled out everything that you have, starting with the shock absorber and all these other additions that are difficult to see. So thank you so much. I do know it's now 7 o'clock in Schaffhausen, which meant you had to stay longer, which also meant that not only the two of you stayed longer, but everyone around you in that box in Schaffhausen. So thanks everyone in Schaffhausen for making this happen, for taking the time to bring the novelties to our readers. That was really a fantastic job, and thanks.
Yep, we're getting a lot of thumbs up and comments from the collectors.
It was our pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot for joining.
Bye, everybody. See you next time. We'll keep you posted.
Have a good day.
Bye.